Fairways, Noel Sosa. Ready to talk some boxing with Fernando Hurricane Rivas and Ivory Towns. Fernando, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Noel? What's going on, Ivory? Another big week of fights. You know, it's getting red hot out there for boxing fans. We just had a big fight week with the Last Crescendo, and now we have a big one coming up with Tank this weekend. So, man, I'm ready to talk about it.
Absolutely. Ivory, thank you for joining us, brother. How you doing today? I know we ain't got the camera on it, but we still got them calling in, so we appreciate that. What's up, I?
Hey, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, I'm still here, fellas. I'm still here. Had a
My
big
man.
weekend, man. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Boy, big weekend and something, exciting to talk about for the upcoming week as well, too, man. Plus a few other little notes that we want to cover in the sweet science again. Let's jump into it, fellas. Right there at the top, man. We were calling it the biggest boxing card of all time. First, let me ask you your opinion. Did it live up to that billing? Was that the biggest boxing card we have ever witnessed?
Unfortunately, because a couple fights fell through that really would have made it the greatest card. I can't say that it was. Some of the results I wasn't happy about, not because they were unfair, but a couple of them were unfair. And we'll get to that one. But just what happened to Martin Bakoli, I didn't like seeing that. Uh, I get why that fight was made, and I get what happened. But for me, those two key factors, with the late replacements, obviously, nobody can control what happens. Illness happens, and a couple fights fell through. No, for me, it wasn't the greatest card of all time, but it was a damn good card still, though.
Yeah. Ivory, what are your thoughts, man? Have you did it fall just short of what we were hoping it would, or did it live up to that for you personally?
Well, I don't want to be this guy, but I kind of brought this up last time. At some point, we're going to get to where it's going to be hard to get these A1 top level fighters on every card. And we saw a little bit of that with this last go round. A lot of last second reschedules. A lot of last minute kind of switch arounds where, and it kind of had me thinking like, well, this may be the start of that. I hate to pour water on it a little bit, but it's like, well, how many top level A1 fighters do we have? How many are willing to go over there and make that trip to Saudi? I know everybody wants the money, but it's crazy how it came out, because that's the first thing that kind of came to my mind once they wanted to call it that type of title, the best card we've ever seen. It's like, well, how long can we keep up this level of matches, these type of bouts? And we kind of saw a slippage of that this past week.
Well, we're going to break it down one by one. Me personally, I'm still giving it the title of best card. Although, there were some things there that did, kind of change at the end and maybe fall a little bit short, but I'm still running with it. And you know what? I just love what's happening in the sport of boxing. I really do. I'm excited. There's some things we're going to talk about here that excite me even more. And again, let's break it down one by one, gentlemen. How about that? Let's talk a little bit of boxing. And let's go in order of how the card went. And right out the gate, this was one of those things, man. I mean, look, man, I'm gonna go ahead and say this real quick. I went ahead and put a little something out there, man. I was trying to hit a little parlay on this whole card. I was trying to, and so right out the gate, I'm like, okay, I'm going with the underdog here because we talked about it beforehand. I picked Callum Smith to beat Josh Buatsi. We did not all go that way, but what a fight. What a way to open the main card. I mean, if this is your opener, that kind of sets a tone, right? These guys came out and put on a show. Buatsi, Callum Smith, of course, the result being Callum Smith winning by a unanimous decision, and I thought put on the performance of his career. I was very impressed with how Callum Smith, because a lot of people were doubting Callum Smith. They said he don't have the fire no more. He had kind of gone to the top, lost. But, dude, his record, he's only lost 2 fights. He's lost to Beterbiev and Canelo. That's it. And so, real quick, Fernando, what you think of this one to open up the card? What a match.
Well, it really set the tone for what you wanted this show to be, and it was exciting. I was surprised because I picked Buatsi. I thought Buatsi would. I know they're not too far off in age, but Buatsi's got less wear and tear on him. I thought that would kind of carry him through. He's kind of like the young prospect in a way, 19-0, 19-1 now. But some of the things that I kind of worried or was concerned about kind of happened, which was the way he would kind of lunge in with his looping shots, and the way he would take a bit long to reset back to his defense. And Callum Smith took advantage of a lot of that. Maybe this is the old dog. The old dog in him kind of using his tricks there. But no, I mean, it was a surprising result, but it was a great fight. It set the tone. Callum Smith, this is a big win for him. He can get another big fight after this. It'll be back to the drawing board for Buatsi. He didn't lose too much in this loss. 19-1, competitive, exciting fight. But this is bigger for Callum Smith for sure.
I mean, it extends, his run, right? His shot at big time fights. And I tell you what, Buatsi, you got to give him credit because he showed he's got some dog. I mean, listen, he didn't just lay down. First, at the sign of adversity, he pushed through. He fought back. He started coming back, and you thought, oh well, now the tide may turn a bit. But Callum Smith did do what I was able to talk about, when we were covering the fight beforehand. I think he utilized some of that experience, right? He utilized the fights that caused the wear and tear, right? He was able to draw on that, and I think it served him well, beating Buatsi, and again with a tremendous back and forth fight. Again, people saying that was the fight of the night, right? Coming right out the gate, man. You basically fight of the night. Callum Smith defeating Buatsi. Ivory, what are your thoughts, man? What a way to start the show, huh? These two boys, they got it on, man.
Yeah, they got the memo. They had a little note left in their dressing room to come out and set this thing on fire. Especially Callum Smith, being the more experienced guy. I think he understood, what this was about, and he understood what this meant for his career, and he came out and did what he's supposed to do as a more experienced, more, a taller, bigger fighter. And he looked how he's supposed to look. Now, what happens next, we'll see. He doesn't have a whole lot of fights up under his belt, but he's been looking good these last few fights. So, we'll see what happens. It's all after these type of fights, after Turk is done what he's done and got these fights to this level. It's almost like, well, we just got to wait and see what the principals say. What's the teacher say? We got to go to the office and see what he has for us next. So it was a good fight for Callum, but we'll see. Is this Turk still? Is he going to continue these type of fights, these type of big bangers, and put Callum at the first fight, the next fight, or we'll see what happens. But it was a good showing for him.
And this is where my head was at, and I mean, we talk about these fights and we talk about what we think is going to happen, and rarely does it happen, just the way we thought, right? I mean, there's always things that you didn't expect. But I got to be honest with you, this is one I felt extremely, confident about. Two reasons, and they showed up in the fight. One, the size of Callum Smith. I mean, boy, did he fill out. He looked really large in that ring next to Buatsi, who's a big boy himself. And he just, I was counting on that, and it showed up. The other thing I was counting on, and I swear to you, I saw it in my mind when I was trying to pick this fight, that left hook to the body, those body shots. And boy, was he consistent with those the entire fight. And I think really is what put him in the driver's seat, man. We talk about this, from time to time. The body work is often underappreciated, but man, he utilized that to perfection in this fight. I was very impressed with Callum Smith and his body work and his consistency, his endurance, his durability, because Buatsi did fight back. He wasn't just going to lay down, and Callum ate some big shots. And where others have folded, he did not. And you love to see the veteran be able to have another run here, man. Do you think Callum will go on a run? I mean, Ivory brings a good point. Like, well, okay, well, what does that lead to next? Are they going to run that back, or do each of them move on from this point? What do you think is next from Callum Smith, Fernando?
I think with a win like this, you definitely can secure yourself a big fight at light. I mean, this is what his third, fourth fight at light heavyweight.
Right.
So he's grown into the weight class for sure. You can tell by his body, the way he's putting in those shots. He feels comfortable at this weight. I wouldn't mind seeing him with a Benavidez. Be a good
Ooh.
measuring stick. Be a good measuring stick for Benavidez. But yeah, a big fight for him at 175 wouldn't be out of the question because he's competitive. Obviously he had that wear and tear from before. Beterbiev, we all know he's otherworldly. Canelo is the face of boxing. So yeah, I like to see him in another big fight. I mean, he's in his mid-30s, so he's not going to get too many more opportunities going forward. So a win like this, I think, should get him at least one more big fight.
Benavidez was on hand, really, as because of the main event, which I heard that he didn't even stick around to watch. I guess we could talk about that a little bit later. But with that fight possibly going to a trilogy, Callum Smith is sitting right there, right? Callum Smith is sitting right there, and I guess so is Buatsi, right? I mean, they're going to be options for David Benavidez now that he has cemented that he is in the light heavyweight division, and has no interest on going back down anymore. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting to see. I look forward to it. Again, Callum Smith puts on the performance of his career. I was so impressed, and he gets the victory over Josh Buatsi. And again, that opened the fight. That opened the card, the main card, and we go right into the big boys, right into the heavyweights. This one I got completely wrong. But you, Fernando, you called this one too, right? And I think Ivory also,
Ivory,
right?
Ivory got it right.
I think both. See, I was the odd man out on this one. Please forgive me, man. I was feeling, and let me tell you what, I was feeling good after that first one. I said, see, I told y'all, Callum gonna do his thing, and he did his thing. But boy, oh boy, was I selling short Mr. Ajit Caballel. And this about the third, fourth fight I've sold him short. Maybe I need to learn my lesson. This dude right here is he showed that he's gonna be a handful, if nothing else, for everybody in the heavyweight division, and takes out Big Bang, gives Big Bang, puts him down, puts him out. How would you describe this fight, Fernando? What happened with Ajit Caballel defeating Gilles Big Bang Zhang?
This is his third big win in a row. This one here is probably his coming out party, really, if you think about it. He was the underdog with Makhmudov. Then with Frank Sanchez, I believe he was the underdog there because Sanchez was the A Saudis with Team Canelo. And this one, Big Bang is coming off that win with Wilder, so he's got a ton of momentum. He seems to be the guy that he's campaigning for a big fight. Wants a title shot at heavyweight. And Caballel, man, he stopped, first man to stop him. I was a little surprised because I thought Zhang would have a little bit more dog in him as far as that. But that gas tank, man, it's always been his liability. It's always been his liability. And Ajit Caballel works the body better than I would say better than any heavyweight in the heavyweight division. I mean,
yeah, man,
solid body. 3 fights in a row, solid body attack.
Yeah, no, I agree. I stepped away for just a second, and I came back, and obviously I was very glued onto these fights. And when I just saw that look in Zhang's face, I said, well, not only is he tired, but he's taking punishment. I mean, Caballel just so tenacious, so consistent with his attack. Just stayed all over him, swarmed him. And, when you're that tired that early in a fight, it spells doom. Unless you can pull out a big shot, which, to Zhang's credit, he did floor Caballel. And for a second there, you thought, well, maybe, but it looked like he was able to regain his legs pretty quickly and reestablish dominance right after that. But there was a little excitement there. You thought maybe Big Bang was going to fight back.
Yeah, no, I thought he had a little bit more in him. And like I said, he's always good. He's always hell in the early rounds, and he's got that monstrous left hand. But Caballel has shown time and time again he just has a tremendous body attack, and and after these last 3 performances, I'm not going to lie to you. I think I'd rather see Usyk and Caballel than Usyk Dubois too. To be honest,
Really?
I think it would be more competitive. I'm not saying Caballero would win by any means. I think that's more of a 60-40 fight for Usyk. 60-40. I'm kind of flirting with 50-50.
Whoa, hold up,
Wow.
man. Is that
Really?
you're that impressed? You're that impressed with Ajay Caballero? I mean, don't get me wrong. What he's done is impressive.
Listen,
You know what you're saying now, Fernando.
I know exactly what I'm saying, man. I think he works the body very well. I like to see him in there with Usyk. And again, I'm not saying he wins. I'm not saying he wins, but I think I would rather. I'm more intrigued by a Caballero Usyk fight than a Dubois Usyk too.
Well,
So
If that makes sense.
to your point, and Ivory, I'll let you chime in here, but to Fernando's point, you know, it's believed that the body shots are Usyk's kind of kryptonite. So maybe Fernando's onto something. I think that's a bit of a bold statement from Hurricane, but Ivory, what are your thoughts, man? Weigh in here.
so you think that was more Caballero than, or you think it was more Zhang losing it than, or Caballero winning it than was Zhang losing it?
Well, for me, I mean, the last 3 fights in a row, we can make an argument that either the other guys lost it or his body shots did it. I mean, he just works the body fantastic.
Yeah.
And Makhmudov was kind of a boogeyman at heavyweight, and we saw what happened there. He just went straight to the body, and dude said, "Fuck this." That was it. Frank Sanchez, a lot of hype to him, Cuban prospect, with Team Canelo, and again, he worked the body fantastic with him. He wore him out. So there's something to be said about that body attack. For a heavyweight,
Yeah.
you don't see a lot of that. So again, I'm not saying he beats Usyk. I think it'd be a more compelling fight than a rematch with Dubois for me.
See, I just think that knowing what we already thought and what we already know about Zhang, his endurance, and it looked like his defense to the body is non-existent. Because I mean, just looking at that footage that we have right there, is my man is teeing off on the body 5-6 punches in a row, and Zhang has no defense for that. So I think it was just more Zhang just kind of, he's up there. He doesn't have that win that he needs. So Caballero took advantage. But that's interesting. You rather see Caballero and Usyk. We
I
might.
would much rather see that. Yeah.
Wow. I'm just gonna say, man, I'm more intrigued with the Dubois rematch just because Dubois level up. Because I think Dubois knocks Caballero's head off. But I keep picking against the guy. He keep proving me wrong. So who am I to say anything at this point?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this much. Those are 3 guys that kind of picked against, and both of them have kind of proven us wrong. Dubois and Caballero. So that would be an intriguing fight as well.
Hey man, we got fellas. Can we celebrate the fact for a second? We got a lot of fights we can make in the heavyweight division. I mean, come on now.
The heavyweights are back, man, and they've been back. I mean, it's just when heavyweight boxing is on top, boxing's on top. It feels like.
Ain't that the truth, man? Ain't that the truth? Yeah, man. So that's the guy who first. I mean, there it was, second fight of the night. My parlay was busted. Appreciate you, Mr. Caballero, for nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Great performance. Great performance. And again, maybe I got to stop selling this dude short. Maybe I got to stop selling this dude short. It was amazing to see that Big Bang finally stopped in that way. The grimace on his face. It was an impressive performance from Caballero. Give him his credit. Let's see how the heavyweight round robin continues, how that continues to play out for us, and what matches are made going forward. I tell you what, I could not believe, right, that this was the next bout on the card. Virgil Ortiz, Israel Madrimov. I was like, I can't believe this isn't a main event. I just can't believe this isn't a main event. I mean, these guys are getting ready to put on a heck of a fight, and it was one heck of a fight. Boy, oh boy, we keep talking about performance of their career. I think this was Virgil Ortiz's shining moment right here, man. The way he stayed true to his game plan, the way he was able to fight back against the style of Madrimov, who came to box his ears off. Madrimov wasn't here to slug it out. He was here to box his ears off. He was here to be very technical, but Ortiz broke him down beautifully and was able to find his spots to be successful. I was so impressed with Virgil Ortiz, who showed me some things even I hadn't seen yet in this career. I mean, there's this clip of him right now that is kind of going viral in the boxing world, where he does the slap of the hand to make him think he's getting ready to try to come up and up top, but he ends up going down to the body and landing a vicious body blow on Madrimov. Again, just unbelievable performance. Virgil Ortiz again gets the victory over Madrimov by unanimous decision. What are your takeaways, Fernando? Ortiz over Madrimov?
I thought, when we spoke last, I said this fight's going to come down to who's got more dog in him.
Mm,
And we've seen Ortiz in the Bohachuk fight have to face some serious adversity. He got dropped, he got rocked. And, Madrimov in his lone loss before this with Crawford, he was very competitive. He looked fantastic. But I have never seen him under any kind of duress. To his credit, I mean, that's a credit to him, obviously, for how good of a fighter he is with his rhythm and with his angles that he does. It's kind of a weird stance that he has.
right.
But I've never seen him have to come back from adversity and show some dog in him. And so I felt like this fight would come down to that, and not just. And I said it could be just the Mexican fan in me that I just want pull for Ortiz, but I just thought he had a little bit more dog in him, and that's kind of what it turned out to be. The last few rounds, Ortiz really stepped on the gas and really secured that win. It was a great performance for him. In 154, I think he's ready for any big fight at 54 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, after a performance like that, I mean, he has just solidified, everything that he has been hyped up to be.
Yeah.
I mean, and not that we were necessarily questioning that, but he really solidified it with this performance, which was very impressive over Madrimov. Again, just his consistency to the game plan, his ability to keep his foot on the gas, and when you have such a technically gifted fighter in Madrimov, to be able to use his style the way he did to break his opponent down and to get in there and land the significant blows. And then there were a couple, rounds in there where he just really bit down and went on a full-blown assault, really establishing his dominance in that ring and just letting Madrimov how much, let him know, hey, you in danger in here. Very impressive. Love that performance from Ortiz. Ivory, what are your thoughts, man? Ortiz gets the victory over Madrimov.
Yeah, I was in and out with this fight.
Mm-hmm.
I had people was kind of coming over and everything, and the parts of this fight that I saw was the fight that Ortiz had his pedal to the metal and was
Mm-hmm.
getting it on. And the styles, you always say styles make fights. And the fact that you got a squabber like Ortiz and the technical, kind of technician in Madrimov, that kind of made for a great match right there. And yeah, Ortiz, I mean, like I said last week, man, something about those Ortizes in the game of boxing. They
He did
don't
say
fuck
that.
they don't fuck around, man. And we saw that last week. And like I say, I didn't watch it all the way through, but the parts I saw, Ortiz was getting at it. Like you say, he was kind of making a real concerted effort to put him out, get Majidov out of there. Or at least, like you say, show him that, listen, you got to understand where you at, man. In this particular round, I'm going balls to the wall. I may go technical with you maybe a round or two from now, but right now we're going all out. And that's the part I saw. That's the part the fans want to see out of a guy like Ortiz. And this was a fight that came through. This one came through, and I'm glad I had Ortiz on this one. I need to quit playing and get my parlays cracking.
Absolutely, man. Again, thoroughly impressed with Ortiz here, and I just cannot wait to see what do you think? Can we project what's next for Ortiz here? What does his path likely look like? What are some options out there, Fernando? What do you think?
I mean, I'd love to see him get a title shot.
Yeah.
Who's Jermell Charlo? I mean, I don't know if he's still champion technically, but
Yeah,
man,
right.
it's been a while since he's fought. But he's got. Last I checked, he had 3 of the belts. I'd love to see him get in there. Man, I'd love to see Boots get up to 154. Quit messing around and fight Virgil. That'd be a heck of a fight. Uh, Depending on how things go with Crawford and Canelo, I'd love to see Crawford and Virgil Ortiz down the line.
Yeah,
That'd be a great fight for
that'd be a good one.
big money fight. I mean, I don't know how many fights Crawford's got in him because I think with him being 37 years old, I think there's rumblings that he might call it a career pretty soon. So, but any big fight or a title shot at 154 for Virgil Ortiz would be big.
I mean, it would. Yeah, a lot of options out there for him, which is exciting. Um, you know, I think about, where does Ortiz go from here? With Turkey involved, right? You just never know because you mentioned a name there that I think makes a lot of sense, and that is Bud Crawford. But Bud is on a whole nother mission right now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He's jumping up weight classes. He's getting ready to fight Canelo for this big payday. But that is actually, after seeing that fight, I'm like, well, hang on. I mean, as much as I want to see that fight, I kind of want to see Ortiz in there with Bud. I
yeah,
just real talk. So I don't know, but again, in that division and around that division, there's so many fights that can be made, and these guys are always looking for big paydays, especially when you've got a guy like Turkey involved, where he can
yeah.
really put some money on the line
Yeah.
and entice you to maybe move a weight class or two. But you mentioned Boots Ennis, that was supposed to happen, right? But
Anybody at 54, right?
yeah, maybe not anybody. you know,
Hey, but Sebastian Fondor is there. The guy that beat Tim Zhu. I can't remember
that's
his
right.
name, but those are two big names there that will definitely be great fights for Virgil.
Absolutely, man. I mean, and there still is Tim Zhu, right? There's Jesus Ramos. You know, Charles Conwell is a guy we hadn't really talked a lot about yet, but I really that would be a fight. I really like his style. I like the way he digs to the body. I mean, you're talking about brutal. That could be a fun fight down the road, maybe if his profile gets raised a little bit. Um, but listen, Ortiz handles business, takes care of business, and is in line for another big fight. And I think that's one thing I've also been curious of, man, to see how Turkey plays these, right? How the results, the showings affect where they get placed on some of these cards. Because again, we're still in the early phases of seeing how he deals with all that. But so far, so good in my book. Um, Here's a fight that disappointed me, and not necessarily just because of the result, but just because the way it kind of played out. And Hamza Shiraz, who I thought was going to win this fight, he was dominated in the fight. But what we end up with is a draw. We ended up with a draw with Carlos Adames, I guess, retaining his title, and Hamza Shiraz not getting the loss, but now a draw on the record. Carlos Adames, Hamza Shiraz results in a draw. I think a lot of people have basically pretty much the consensus is that Adames was unjustly, robbed of his victory. I thought he clearly dominated the fight, deserved to win, and not just by a little bit either. What are your thoughts on this, Hurricane? Shiraz gets a gift draw here.
I think every now and then boxing, has to remind you that it's still boxing. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a great card, great show, but every now boxing needs to let you know, listen, this is boxing. Every now and then we gotta fuck things up just a little bit. And I think that's what it was, Carlos Adames should be celebrating a hard-earned win, an impressive win against a Hamza Shiraz, who a lot of us were, giving him a lot of hype. A couple back-to-back sensational performances for Shiraz. Especially that win over Amel Williams was really impressive. Uh, to me, this is a case of Hamza Shiraz kind of fumbling the bag here. He had an opportunity here to win a belt and really cement himself as a star or a potential star. He's like an ambassador, right, for Riyadh season. So
Mm-hmm.
this was a big opportunity for him, and Adames really kind of ruined those plans for him. Heck of a performance by Adames. And my only thought on this really is it's boxing being boxing, man. How many times have we seen this?
Well, look, here's a couple of things I'm just going to say because it was revealed, right, that apparently Hamza busted his hand, and apparently pretty early on in the fight, right? But he continued on. But that checks out. I mean, I don't know if it's been confirmed that he suffered a legitimate injury, but he was showing his hand a lot after the fight, and it didn't look good. But I mean, you never know. And so he was claiming that he had a hurt hand. That explains possibly, right, a little bit of his not him not throwing that hand like we normally see him do. And also too, man, a little bit of I guess a little bit of controversy about Turkey ringside. Any thoughts on that? I mean, apparently Turkey was ringside, letting him know, hey, you're down 2 points. You need to do this. Just kind of rooting for his man who is an ambassador for Riyadh season.
Yeah.
I think it for me personally, and obviously I'll let you respond, but I think that's where, Turkey, not only is he the man, but he's also just a fan. He's a fan.
Yeah.
Turkey really loves this shit. That's why he does what he does. That's why he puts up the money. That's why he believes so much in the sport. And I think I don't think it's just as sinister as some people want to say. Is it not a good look? Sure, I can see how you can have that narrative, but I think what you're seeing is Turkey just being a fan. You know what I mean? But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think he's just being a fan. I mean, look, we seen Floyd Mayweather go into Tank's corner in that Barrios fight. Tell him, hey, man, like they got you down. They got you down in the scorecards.
Right.
So, I think it's more akin to that than anything else. I think the BBFC or the British Boxing Board of Control, I think they said like it's preposterous that he was giving him information on the cards and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think, like you said, it's just a fan being a fan, and this is an ambassador for Riyadh season, and you can see like it's on his trunks right now, right there in the picture. So I mean, it's one of his fighters. Obviously, your fighters, not doing good. You're gonna go tell him, man, you gotta do something, man. You're down. So it's just a fan being a fan, and also just a promoter cheering on his fighter.
Ivory, anything you want to add about this? I mean, impressive showing from Adames. I mean, he stood on business. He took care of business. He did what he had to do. But Ivory, anything you want to say about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the stuff I'm talking about, though. This is the type of stuff that can kind of get a little murky. And like Fernando said, though, it's boxing. Boxing will fuck up a wet dream. They will do that. Let's be honest. There's a bunch of ex crooks, that are kind of running the show up there. So I mean, no disrespect to Turkey, anybody doing that thing right now, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like that is funny. That the promoter, the big money guy, the main head Don King of Saudi Arabia, he's the guy. You know what I'm saying? He's the guy over there, and his fighter is down, and it ends up being a draw when everybody feels it should have been another way. And this is the beginning of the stuff I'm talking about. And but he's a fan and he's doing great so far. So we can't just come down too bad on him. We'll see what happens next. Do we go automatic rematch in a situation like this? I wouldn't be surprised if Turk kind of makes it mandatory. Like, you know what? Fuck it. Any draws, automatic rematch. That just that gives me less things to worry about as far as our next showdown. So I don't know. It wasn't a good look. It wasn't the best look. It makes you scratch your head a little bit, but going forward, we'll see what happens. And going forward, after seeing how he handles this situation in the future, that'll give us the ability and the I guess that'll give us the data we need to know what to think about him being ringside. Does he continue to do this more often in the future? Does he sit ringside more often? Do the fights he sits ringside or do the fights he sits ringside for? Do they have funny outcomes for some reason? We'll just put a check mark next to this fight and see how it goes going forward.
Yeah, well said, man. I like that. Up next, Shakur Stevenson, Olympic silver medalist, taking on last-minute replacement Josh Padley, who answered the call while on the job. Man, he's an electrician, this guy, right? But he stayed in shape. When he got the call, he was ready to show up. He makes the flight, gets there, has a couple of days to get acclimated, and gets in the ring with one of the best in the game. I mean, it's the stuff that movies are made of, man. I mean, and it's been reported, right? Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen the information or the meme, whatever you want to call it, the post going around where Josh has basically said, hey, he made enough money. Turkey took care of him. That he no longer has to work that job. He is now a full-time boxer. Well, let me tell you, man, for a part-time boxer to get in there with Shakur, I thought he gave a great account of himself. Obviously, coming up short, he gets stopped by Stevenson. Boy, did Shakur need that stoppage, boy.
Yeah.
Just TKO round 9. And Shakur finally gets his man. He's been, taking a lot of heat for some of his recent performances, or but Shakur gets the job done against Josh Padley, does so pretty dominant, in very dominant fashion. Even though Padley was there to fight, he brought it, and you got to applaud the man for doing that. But Shakur gets the W, improves, and hopefully onto bigger, better things. Fernando, what'd you think of this one?
Kudos to Padley. Obviously, and this is one of those scenarios where Padley won and lost. He won because the payday he got. Obviously, it's been reported he does not have to be as an electrician anymore. Also, they're bringing him back for a future, Real season card.
That's right.
And getting another, prominent feature, getting another payday. So he's getting 2 paydays out of this.
How about it?
And that's always good to see, especially for a last minute replacement. Little known, risked his O. I mean, he lost his O in this fight. His undefeated record. For those fighters in smaller markets or smaller areas where you're lesser known, it's hard to build up a record. So to be able to risk your record like that, after building it up, it's a big thing. And so it's good to see him get his payday. And this is one of those rare cases where you win in the loss. And with Shakur, I mean, he needed the stoppage. He needed the stoppage. He needed to look sensational. I was worried a little bit early on because he was starting to be a little too defensive. He's a notorious non-risk taker. But once he got comfortable, he stepped on the gas and he was able to stop him. And it was a win-win. This fight was a rare win-win where even with the winner obviously got a big win and the loser got his win outside, obviously with the business end.
That's right, absolutely. And boy, what a tattoo, man. A lot of people have been talking about Padley's tattoo, man. I was like, hey, what is it? Mike Tyson fighting Zeus, fighting Zeus on his back piece.
Yeah,
pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. And again, congratulations to him. Seizing the opportunity. They say stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Well, he stayed ready and he showed up, and he has basically changed his life. He was able to, when opportunity knocked, he answered. Again, even in a loss, his stock rises. Ivory, what are your thoughts, man? Shakur gets the stoppage win, gets the TKO over Josh Padley.
Yeah, he had better. He had better. Like you say, man, he was on, I don't know if I've ever seen a champion on such thin ice with the public. You know what I mean? As far as, I don't know if I've ever seen that, and he is, for whatever reason, well, we know why. It's just his fights are kind of boring, and he hadn't got that just all out boxing fan nod. And I don't know if this one is going to do it for him either. You're literally fighting an electrician. Just think about it. Just think about that. When we go to these low level fights at your local casino, what do we say? Man, look at these carpenters and electricians in here fighting. Shakur's a champion, world-renowned champion. I can't give him but so much credit for that. And like I said, with Turk going forward, we'll see how many times this becomes an issue and how many last second, change arounds he has to do going forward. I know it happens as boxing, but it kind of leaves the fans kind of, ho hum at the end of the fight. But Shakur did what he needed to do, but I need to see him going forward. What is he gonna look like, man?
Well, the word is that they're what everybody's screaming for is Shakur getting a match with Tank, right?
Tank.
That's what everybody's screaming for. But there's a lot of matches to be made in that weight class. It's not just Tank, right? I mean, Keyshawn Davis the other day, I want to see him fight anybody. You know what I mean? And I'd love to see that fight. And there's several matches in that weight class and around that weight class, because you know how that goes, that can be made. But the one everyone's screaming for is Tank. What do we think, Fernando? What does that actually end up?
I mean, I would rather see the Tank and Shakur. I think that's the
wait, right?
Why wait? That's the fight to make, and Tank's already hinting that he's going to retire. Why not make the big fight? That's a huge fight. Stylistically,
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans are going to get turned off seeing that fight because Shakur's, like I said, a notorious non-risk taker, and he's not going to be so aggressive with Tank, I don't think. But it's the fight to make. We need to see it play out for legacy purposes, for historical purposes. It's a big fight. If not, why not see Shakur go up to 140? He looks like a big dude.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's see him go to 140 and get some big fights there.
Well, the big question, and Pat Lee even commented that that Shakur just doesn't have power. He said Shakur just don't have power. Any chance, Fernando? I got to ask you because you've worked with a lot of fighters in your day. Any chance that going up in weight helps the power at all?
It can, but once you kind of stylistically fight a certain way most of your career, that's kind of what you're going to lean towards, anyways. Uh, Very rarely do you see a fighter who can jump up and weight and consistently carry power up in the weight classes. I mean, not everybody can be Manny Pacquiao, right? I mean, and even Pacquiao towards the end started going the distance a lot more. So I think stylistically, you tend to stay with what brought you to the dance stylistically when you move up in the weight classes.
Ivory, is that the one you want to see? You want to go ahead and see Tank and Shakur?
Oh, of course. And that those weight classes, it's about 10 guys you can pick out, with those weight classes, moving down or up one. It's a bunch of names. But I wanted a question for Fernando. Is it a way that Shakur or any fighter, can you take your style now? Whatever your style is now, defensive fighter, offensive, whatever, how do you get stronger within your style that you fight now? Is it just turning your hips more, or is it something he can do right now, staying in this weight class and just add more power to those punches?
I mean, you can do a lot of weight training. You can do a lot. At the end of the day, if you're not a knockout guy, you're just not gonna have it. You can do
Right.
everything. You can do everything in your power to try to get there, but if you just don't have it, you don't have it. We'll see guys who have beer bellies knock the fuck out of somebody. They just have natural power, and then we'll see guys who are shredded and can't knock out a fly. It just is what it is. I think Shakur will be smart to stay with his style. Probably, if anything, you want to evolve your defensive style, evolve your defense a little bit more. Make sure that these big guys can hurt you when you get up in weight. But you never know. I mean, sometimes you come up in weight and you can get a little bit of power and feel a bit stronger. Maybe you're not dehydrating yourself as much to make the weight, and you come in feeling a little bit naturally more stronger. So you just don't know. There's a lot of questions there. A lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the old adage is right. Punchers are born, not made. To me, that's a debatable topic. I think if you know what you're doing, if you can work on certain explosive drills and you can be intentional about certain types of training, I think you can help. I think a big example of that is Juan Manuel Marquez. I mean, listen, he was always ferocious, but he really did have some heavier hands later in his career, and it was something he focused specifically on. But again, that's very debatable if that's something you can work on or not. But Shakur, Tank, yeah, let's see it. And we're going to talk about Tank here in a little bit as well, too, because he's got a fight coming up this weekend. But let's talk about last-minute replacements, right? One more, right? The co-main event. I was so excited. I mean, Dubois, Parker, I was ready for that. But Dubois, let's talk about this for a second, if you don't mind, guys. Dubois gets sick. That's what we've been told, that he got sick kind of out of nowhere, 48 hours out. Although we saw him the day before kind of at the open workouts, he didn't appear sick. There's a lot of conspiracy theories, tinfoil hats going up around this thing that, maybe he got word that, his fight with Usyk's locked in. He don't want to jeopardize it by fighting Joe Parker. Hey, let's bow out of this. Let's get Usyk anyway. And kind of, but I don't know. I don't know what to believe. Again, these are conspiracy theories. I'm not necessarily of that thought. I mean, my mind is I'm about to make some money. I trained my ass off for this fight. I'm going to get in here and do what I do. I believe in myself. I'm not doubting myself all of a sudden. I'm going to make my money, and I'm going to make that money too. I mean, but again, that's just me with having zero, inside information on what's going on or a thought, anything that none of us have. We're just kind of observing and trying to figure out what happened here, because there's been some eerie silence out of the Dubois camp. Excuse me. We haven't got any word, any statement. We just heard he was sick and he was gone, just like that. Any word on that, Fernando? What are your thoughts on that? Just that aspect of it.
I mean, I haven't heard anything on anything else, but just my thoughts are, Floyd Schofield, kind of similar situation. He looked fine one day, and
Right.
then next he's not. So my best guess is something was going around in Saudi. Some bug,
What kind of bug?
some kind of bug was going around, and a couple of the fighters got it. They were staying in Saudi to acclimate to the weather and to acclimate to being in Saudi, I guess, and they just got sick. Was there something must have been going around, and a couple of fighters just bad luck, bad timing, I guess. I mean, I really don't want to. I don't believe Dubois would duck Parker.
Right.
Coming off a big win, against Anthony Joshua, coming off the momentum. If anything, I would think Dubois is feeling himself more than ever right now.
Right.
So no, I believe he was genuinely sick, and just decided to pull out, just so he can come back at 100% later.
Yeah, one of those unfortunate things. Well, what we end up getting was something that, we were very surprised. What reminded me of, like, back in the day, I used to watch wrestling, and like there would be these instances where, like, oh, something has happened to so-and-so, who will his opponent be? And then sometimes they would throw this crazy big name out. Whoa, like, oh, well, now this is the fight we're getting. That, a little swerve, And I feel like that's what happened here. We end up getting Martin Bacoli, who was riding a wave himself, man, coming off a career best performance against Jared Big Baby Anderson, really just putting the screws to Jared Anderson with some highlight reel stuff, and answers the call. Literally flies from the Congo, gets to Riyadh at 2 a.m. and fights that same day. I mean, it's unheard of. It's unheard of. And I think you could only maybe get away with that as a heavyweight. But the version of Martin Bacoli that showed up in that ring, I don't know if he should have took that fight. I was excited that he did. It made me, for me, I lost zero intrigue just because we lost Dubois Parker. Oh, we're getting Bacoli Parker. That's great for me. I'll take that 10 times out of 10. But I feel like we didn't get the best version of Bacoli, and maybe shame on us for thinking that we would. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts there, Fernando?
So, in the Padley versus Shakur fight, I said that was a win-win, a rare win-win, where even the loser, wins. This is a lose-lose right here for the loser, because if you're Martin Bacoli, you're riding that wave of that big win against Big Baby Anderson. You got all this hype. I mean, we were literally comparing him to George Foreman not long ago.
Yeah.
And then you take this fight. I was under the impression that he was probably on standby, so he probably had some sort of a camp, and he was just a standby, and he'd get the call. I mean, it looked like he didn't have a camp at all. He was sitting on his couch, and they called him, and he came. He flew out to Saudi, and for me, it's like, man, you jeopardized that wave that you had, that hype that you just built up after that last big win, to fight a fight on literally at the last minute. You're overweight. You're not fighting a slouch. You're fighting Joseph Parker, former world champion. Big wins over Wilder and Andy Ruiz. You're fighting him last minute. You get knocked out in 2 rounds, and you just kind of shatter that aura you had. That George Foreman aura. I'm hearing the pay wasn't that great. I would hope Turkey took care of him, on the back end or something. I don't know. But man, this was a lose-lose. Like, this killed a lot of momentum. If you're Martin Bacoli, this killed a lot of momentum.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think he makes money, and again, I don't necessarily want to debate the pay or whatever, because I've seen a couple different numbers. I don't know what the truth is, but I mean, he still got paid, right? He did make money. And it would we say small, but I'll take that money, boy. Let me tell you what.
No, me too. Shit.
over half $500 million. That ain't small to me,
Yeah.
But you would think for a situation like that, there'd be some money earmarked where he could probably make a little bit more. But that aside, he basically cashed out, whether that be on his own decision or if he was advised to. I don't know. Again, we don't know these things, so it's ridiculous to debate it. Bottom line is, he gets in there, and then you've got pictures like this, right? You've got the end result, him stumbling around, and look, he just didn't look good in there. He was completely out of shape. Was not ready to fight. I've heard people, criticize and say, well, professional athletes should never allow them to get that far out of shape. I mean, look, who's to tell another man how to go about his business? A professional fighter who's looked tremendous in that ring before, but you put yourself at risk for that kind of scenario right there. Like Josh Padley, he stayed ready. When the call came, he was ready. He showed up, gave a good account of himself, and even in a losing effort, his stock rose. This is kind of the opposite of that, right? This is kind of the opposite of that, where the stock maybe takes a dip for Bacoli, especially because of the way he was being spoken about. And I don't know if you recall this or not. Can I say real quick, just on my behalf, a couple of shows ago, we were talking about Bacoli, and I said, very impressed by his performance against Jared Anderson, but I'm not completely sold on Bacoli yet. And this goes and solidifies my thoughts in that a little bit. Whether that's just or not, the results are the results, right? He showed up, he got in the ring, and he got dusted. Okay, that's what happened. Now, all the circumstances, you start factoring that in. Maybe you give the guy a little bit of grace. Listen, he shaved the show. He saved the payday. I don't know if you saw the clip afterwards of them greeting each other in the locker room. Joseph Parker was very thankful, hugging him, embracing him, telling him, thank you, very grateful. He even asked him, he said, when'd you get here? He's all 2 a.m. He just looked at him and gave him a big old hug. He said, boy, thank you. Because, again, as a professional, you appreciate that. You appreciate, hey, man, I busted my ass. Opponent drops out. Thank you for helping me feed my family. You know what I mean? I didn't lose the job. You showed up. Thank you. So there's that level of respect. But again, kind of a bad look, but also, you factor in all the other outside factors, and maybe he gets a little grace. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Ivory, on all that?
Yeah, it was a bad look for Bacoli. But then once you know all the details about him being last second, you understand, and that happens in boxing. One thing I will say, and I don't know the details about the money, but look here, Turk. Don't wait till my man comes out to Congo to get tight. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if his money was based on whether he won or how long he went or what, but don't wait till February, Black History Month, get tight with my man out to Congo. Come on, man. Come on now. It's bad time. But I will say, I guess, Parker did what he had to do, for Bacoli not being in shape or whatever, I don't know. I mean, he is a heavyweight. It's a little tougher for big heavyweights to always stay in shape like that than it is for these little guys. But, I don't know. Who knows the details behind that? Did he know he was going to fight? Should he expect it to be, like you say, a last second call up? I don't know. But, second round KO, spun his ass around. That was one of the most entertaining parts of the night. Spun his ass around. He was looking at the fans and looking at the corner like, oh shit, I didn't expect this. And then got his ass dropped. But we'll see going forward. Look, is that a reason to go a rematch? You know what I mean? I mean, we had the weird draw the last segment we talked about. Do you do a rematch for stuff like this? Or do we go back and get the original fight that we wanted in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of possibilities, right, that this could go. I mean, for mine, I'm like, well, let's just hold on, let's hit reset. Let's go ahead and do Parker Dubois like we originally planned.
Right.
And then, let's give Bacoli someone he can maybe bounce back on and look impressive and kind of reestablish, his position in the heavyweight division. And so, yeah, again, a lot of fights to be made, a lot of different ways to go with it. Let's see where it all ends up. But we're talking about Bacoli. Parker looked great, didn't he? I mean, he looked strong. He looked that was a different version of Joseph Parker. It's a shame we didn't get to see him against a guy who was prepared to fight him, because I wonder what that kind of version of Joseph Parker does. I thought Big Joe Parker looked really good. I mean, he looked strong. He looked a lot more muscular than he normally does, but he also, still had his movement. And he had a game plan and he executed it to perfection. So instead of just blaming things on Bacoli, let's give Parker some credit for showing up. It's a shame we didn't get, like I said, the fight that we were originally supposed to get, because I would have liked to see what does that version of Joseph Parker do in the heavyweight division. Real quick on that, Fernando.
No, yeah, I mean, we got to give credit to Parker for sure. I mean, he's been an elite heavyweight for a long time. Been an elite heavyweight for a long time. He's got some quality wins. You saw what he beat Zhang, beat Wilder, beat Andy Ruiz. He went the distance with Anthony Joshua in a very competitive fight. I mean, we've known, Parker's a dog at heavyweight, and so I think he did what he normally does in this fight. He just got lucky that he got a very out of shape Bacoli, who just got off the couch for the payday, and I think it showed. But all credit to him, to get a TKO 2 over that guy that we were talking about, a few shows ago. Hey, this guy looked like George Foreman.
Yeah.
To get a second round KO of that guy, hey, if I'm Parker, hey, I'll take that. I'll take that all day.
Absolutely. Look, let's just go ahead and jump right to the main event real quick. Artur Beterbiev, the first time out, gets the close, but he does get the victory over Dimitri Bivol. They run it back just a few months later for the undisputed light heavyweight championship yet again. And you know what? I think the second bout was more intriguing than the first one, which is saying something. What a performance, man. Beterbiev comes out. I think maybe Bivol has some early success, but then Beterbiev just really takes over and has just some very clear dominance in the ring. And then just like that, Bivol kicks it into a gear and never really looks back, man, and puts together an unbelievable performance to get the victory over Artur Beterbiev and avenge his only loss, and possibly setting up a trilogy. Main event lived up to it. What a fight it was. Fernando, what are your thoughts, man? Bivol gets revenge, gets a W over previously unbeaten, just scary monster Artur Beterbiev. Bivol gets some get back, man.
Oh no, for sure he did. And I had talked about it before, when we last spoke. I said this fight's gonna really hinge on who can make the better adjustments in this fight. And man, Bivol, what can I say? He uses movement effectively. He knows how to let his hands go. Did not stay stationary with someone like Beterbiev, who you cannot afford to do that with. I would have loved to have seen some more body work from Beterbiev. I didn't see it enough in the first fight, and I really didn't see it in the second fight. I think for Beterbiev, it almost seems like he kind of went with the mentality of, if it's not broke, why fix it?
Mm.
And Bivol, for his part, he said, no, we're gonna make some adjustments here. You're gonna get me this time. It's not gonna be as easy as it was the first time. And to get the guy that took your O and you take his O now, and you get even. This, I mean, I hate to say, but this kind of lends itself to a trilogy. It really does. I mean, I know people might not want to see it. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Maybe not as a main event, but as a co-feature on a different card, on a future, re-out season card.
Yeah, look, I think with the possibility of Benavidez in the mix fighting one of these guys, I think that's kind of what everybody. Let's just get that fight going. But look, man, 1-1. These guys have put on a great performance both times. I've enjoyed both fights. I mean, it's been high level stuff, like the highest elite level of boxing. Why not get the rubber match? Why not find out, okay, you got one, I got one, let's see who can get the last one, right?
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that at all. As much as I do want to see Benavidez in there with these guys, you know what? There's Callum Smith out there, Mexican monster.
Go definitely do like they could definitely do like a little double header, the trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
And then Callum Smith and Benavidez.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think
there you go. Manifest that, Fernando. You've been doing that, man. Manifest that. Let's see if we can make that happen. His Excellency's listening. Okay, that's what's going on, man. Yeah, I think that's a great option. Something along them lines. But yeah, I think we end up seeing the trilogy. For me, from what I observed, I basically saw. It started off. Bivol got out, started doing some great boxing. His speed and his movement kind of came out the gate. But then Beterbiev was like, you know what? Fuck all that. I'm gonna bring it to you. And boy, did he. I mean, he dominated the next several rounds. And I'm thinking, well, here it is. Kind of like how we predicted the fight was gonna go. Same result, a little bit more dominant. And then just like that, better be of, like I said, kicks it into another gear and just puts on an incredible performance. And really, man, I think he surprised Better BF. I thought Better BF thought he was going to go ahead and get his man, break him down. But Bivol showed he had an extra gear. It's like you see them old movies. There's a special button in the old races where they don't know I got the turbo button right here. It's like he hit the turbo button on him. And Better BF could never catch back up again. Count me thoroughly impressed by Dimitri Bivol getting his get back in the rematch. But yeah, Ivory, what are your thoughts on that? Main event lived up to the hype. Second fight was probably better than the first fight. Do they do it a third time? What are your thoughts on the fight? What do you think? What happens next?
Yeah, I read that. I think I read somewhere that Better BF said he was ready. For the third fight. So, and if he's down, I'm sure Turk is down. So I'm guessing we got the third one on the way. But Bivol came out hot, man. He came out ready for this one, and he said in some of the pre-fight stuff that he just went harder in this one. He just trained harder. He just locked in a little bit more. And hey, sometimes that's all it is. Go harder, do more, be better. And that's what all Bivol was. And yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna get a third fight out of this one. Why not? You got two greats. But it was a hell of a fight. That main event lived up to it, no doubt.
Absolutely did, man. I think I did see Turkey also say, hey, if Better BF wants it, we will have the trilogy. And so if Better BF has said, I want it, well, that's, ladies and gentlemen, that's probably what we're gonna get. And I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it, and I think it does set up, Benavidez gets another fight in, and then maybe. And that was the other weird thing. I mentioned a little bit early on in the show. Benavidez showed up to watch this fight, then didn't even stay for the fight. Left, said he had a flight to catch. Just makes you scratch your head a little bit. Like, well, catch a different thing, man. Like, but I don't know.
Maybe he thought, what they're going to do a third time. Why am I even here?
Maybe he's got to go over there and bring Al, and Al Heyman and PBC to the table, which is something I guess hasn't necessarily happened yet. But when it comes to Riyadh season, but we shall see how the story unfolds. Look, man, real quick, I want a couple of things we want to go over, and we may save the Grand Prix for the next show. What do you think of that, Fernando? Is that okay to do that?
That's fine, because that's a lot to unpack there. So
it's a lot to unpack, but I definitely want to unpack what's going on this weekend. Tank Davis is in the ring, and man, over the last couple of years, I have really developed my appreciation for Tank. I've always appreciated him as a fighter, but I've really appreciated him as just a human being over the last couple of years. I can tell he's experienced a lot of personal growth in the way that he carries himself, the things that he says. We reposted this, and obviously it'll be deleted by the time this is released. But we reposted this on our Instagram story today, Fair Ones and Fairways. They're having a press conference. Have you seen this, Fernando? They're having a press conference, and he goes, "Is that your mom?" "Yeah, that's my mom." Tank asks Roach. He says, "Is that your mom?" "Yeah." "Why'd you bring her?" He says, "'Cause she loves to see me whoop ass." And Tank just starts smiling, and he starts doing this. He's like, "What? You ain't gonna say what you gonna say?" What did he say? You're not afraid to say what you're gonna say, right? He goes, "I am now." And he just smiles. He's like, "That's Mama Duke over there, man. I don't want to talk bad. I don't want to talk trash in front of your mom." Like, wow. Like, when was the last time you saw a fighter, on the verge of a big fight say, "Man, I can't talk bad in front of your mom"? Like, Tank is a trip, man. But boy, is he deadly. And we get to see him back in the ring against Lamont Roach this weekend. What are your thoughts on this fight? I'm curious. What do you think of this fight?
Well, I mean, I wish it wasn't on pay-per-view.
Ivory said something. What'd you say, Ivory?
Whatever.
That's no respect. If I'm Roach, I'm offended. I'm offended.
Are you?
I am. I mean, listen. I mean, first of all, this is boxing. That's Tank Davis. there's been some rumbling about how he picks his fighters. He's, he doesn't want to go against the top guys. So to me, that's in Tank's mind. He's not pressing this dude at all. I can come out and be super nice guy, mature, nice guy on this one. I ain't got to talk crazy and be all like that because I'm not sweating dude at all. I appreciate you, saving my mama's ears, but that's for her. On my side, I need you to show me some respect and act like you think I'm gonna come put hands on you. It's a mind fuck. It's a mind twist that he did with him. And if I'm Roach, yeah, I'm a little offended because you're not sweating at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's people. A lot of Manny Pacquiao opponents kind of say the same thing. Like, this dude's just too fucking nice. What's going on here?
Right,
He's too nice. like Pacquiao, I'm gonna knock your fucking head off. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Good luck.
Hey, let's go. Okay, love
So
you.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So it can be a mind fuck in a way because you're like, why is this guy so fucking nice? What's going on here? Like your mentality is a different way.
Knowing that, we know that Tank Davis can go there. He can talk crazy. He can get wild, right?
Yeah.
But now you want to play nice guy with me? Yeah, I'd be a little offended.
It could just be too that he just on a spiritual growth, mental growth, and he really is just maturing. Again, he's talking about getting out of boxing. Wants to spend time with his family.
That's true.
So I mean, it could be that too. Maybe he really doesn't like boxing like that as much anymore. I mean, it could be just that too. I mean, time will tell. At the end of this year, if he really does say do what he say he's going to do, which is get out the game.
Well, let's say that that's true because he's talked about that very openly, getting out the game and wanting to be better spiritually for his family, all these things, man. He wants peace in his life. Let's just say that's true. Is Lamont Roach good enough to make him pay for that?
No. No.
There it is.
And
no.
And it shouldn't be paper. And look, no. I'm not trying to disrespect Roach. I mean, I've seen his highlights. I've seen him, get in the ring. He does his thing.
And this is what we're saying though. This is kind of what I guess this leads to what folks are saying about him, picking his opponents and him, wanting to retire. I believe I saw, was it yesterday or maybe it was today, I saw him giving an interview and saying the plan is to take 1.5 years, 2 years off and come back. So, he put that out there that, that's the plan. So technically he's done after this fight. He told us that a couple weeks ago, a month ago. So, maybe that's the angle he's taking. I'm a go on a little sabbatical after this one. So no need to get all up in arms with this one. Plus I know my opponent can't beat me. So,
Well, I think it probably goes without saying, unanimous decision, Tank gets the job done this weekend, right?
Right.
I'm going to say knockout. I'm going to say knockout. I mean, look, he's 30-0, 28 KOs. Has one of the best shows in boxing. I think Stephen A. Smith's the one that said, hey, he's got the best show right now. He's got the best, fight night in boxing right now because you're guaranteed a highlight reel knockout every time he fights. And, Roach has only got 10 KOs and 25 wins. Stylistically, he's not a bad fighter. But you need to have a little something if you're gonna make Tank respect you. You have to either have an amazing defense or some kind of power that's gonna make him respect you. He does everything good, but he just doesn't have something that stands out like that to me. So I think Tank KO and probably early. I think Tank takes his time the first 3 rounds, but rounds 4 and 5, it's over.
What kind of punch? What kind of punch?
Left hand, left uppercut, and then Roach is gonna do the stanky leg, and then I think it's over.
Hey man, yeah, knockout Tank for sure. I just see it coming. I think Tank is just on another level. No disrespect to Lamont Roach, who you know is going to show up and give everything he has. But Tank is in a class of his own, and I think the hope for everybody is that whatever happens next is something of significance, right? If Tank is going to take some time off or retire, whatever the case may be, let's leave with a bang, right? Let's put on a good show, and let's get let's get Shakur in there, or I don't know, Tiafimo or Loma or somebody who is going to be worth it.
One of them,
Yeah.
one of those names. What kind of punch you think, no? So,
Whew. I guess I'm gonna go with a body shot.
been a lot of body shots here lately, ain't it?
There have. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's why my mind is just seeing them. Body shot. I could see that happening. And just knockout, baby. 1 through 10.
I got a question real quick before we get out of here. I got one question about just overall boxing, but I'm gonna go with one of them just lead wild uppercuts he be coming with that Tank comes with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? One of them just crazy just uppercuts when he just walking through your little pity pat jabs and shit. He just lets out some uppercuts. I'm gonna go with that one. But my question, and it's kind of talking about body shots. When you talk about like other sports, basketball, football, the evolution of the sport, you always talk about, how different football is, how different basketball is compared to 20 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for boxing? What does boxing's evolution look like? And when I asked that question earlier today, body shots came to my head because I was like, damn, I swear this last week I've seen 4 or 5 knockouts, stoppages from body shots. Is this a thing?
Well, I think what that is that's a cycle, because it used to be all about that back in the day. It's
Right.
it's a lost art, but it is kind of making a bit of a resurgence. I have seen that, and it excites me. Those are my favorite kind of knockouts. I really appreciate the body work. They just don't they don't sometimes get the oohs and the ahs that come with knocking someone's head off. Equally effective. It just they don't generate the type of clicks and views that the headshots do. I think that's all that is. But if anything, if we're starting to see a resurgence, that's exactly what it is. It's coming back around.
It's a pause, a hesitation when a body shot's going.
Well, it's that delayed reaction that gets you, because you'll take a shot to deliver, you'll still be and then that pain hits you, and it's like, oh shit, and then you drop because it's that delayed reaction. Once that perfect shot to deliver lands, if you go down, we tell all our fighters in sparring, if you get hit to deliver, clinch, because if you go down, you're not getting up. If you go down, you're not getting up.
Right.
So if you take that shot, you better clinch immediately and just ride out that wave of pain that's gonna hit you. Ride it out, because he'll take about 10 to 15 seconds for that to go away. You ride it out, you clinch, try to survive the round, and just ride it out. Because if you take that knee from that body shot, very few can get up.
Debilitating.
Talk to me real quick, Fernando, about, and maybe I'm thinking about something that doesn't even exist just because of the nature of boxing. Right? There's no technology, there's no ball, there's no out of bounds. You see basketball, football 20 years ago, you see the difference in how the game's played, right? You can tell.
Yeah.
In football, everybody's making one-handed catches from 50 yards out. That shit didn't go down like that 30 years ago. In boxing, what does that look like? Or is that even a thing, because you're just using your hands punching niggas in the face?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for sure the American style of boxing has evolved over the last few years. I mean, you see a lot of fighters now. You see like it's almost like every other prospect that comes out, into the game comes out really athletically gifted, defensively gifted. They can perfect punch placement. I mean, look at guys like Abdullah Mason. Look at guys like Keyshawn. We just saw him, win the title.
Yeah.
Shakur Stevenson. We see a lot of guys with this skill set that perhaps back in the early '90s or mid '80s or something like that would have been like once in a generation. It seems like almost everybody's starting to develop that style, and so the American style of boxing has really, for sure, evolved. I can't speak internationally because I mean I will have to really pay more attention and do my homework on that. But from what I've seen in American boxing, it really has evolved stylistically, and of course that's going to include body shots. The placement of the shots, the way you throw your combinations, the way you move, the way you evade punches. And stylistically, American boxing has really evolved from even 20, 30 years ago.
Real quick before we get out of here, co-main event. I think Tank is obviously the main attraction. That's why a lot of folks are going to tune in to see what Tank looks like. But man, the fight of the night is going to be that co-feature. Rayo's back, coming off his big victory, right?
Yeah, huge win.
Yeah, huge victory, upset victory over Pitbull. Taking on one of the Russell brothers, right? I mean, taking on Gary Russell. That should be a damn good fight. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, I'm interested to see how those styles clash.
Yeah, he's coming off a loss to Puello, I believe. But, he still has those 17 wins, 17 knockouts. He's a power puncher. He's a southpaw. Rayo's a southpaw. The thing with Rayo is that he can get hurt. He can get caught. We've seen it happen a couple times with him. I think it was De Los Santos that knocked him out. But, man, when he can get you too, though, he's got that same power too, and he can box a little bit. He showed us with Pitbull Cruz. He nullified Pitbull's power by boxing him and just moving and boxing smart. So I think this might come down to who has the better boxing abilities, who can take whose power and who can take whose power away. I'm gonna say Rayo squeaks by in this one.
I was gonna ask you who you thought was gonna win that one. Yeah. I'm 50-50 on this one, man. Rayo, it's hard because of the performance he had with Pitbull to go against him.
Yeah.
Can he put on another flawless performance like that against a big puncher like Gary Russell? Again, this is 50-50 for me. If I had a bet, I'm gonna say Russell wins this one.
Oh,
I'm gonna say Russell gets to him. I'm gonna say Russell wins this one. Maybe a combination of things. Again, putting on another flawless performance, that's a lot to ask.
With the decision?
And I'm gonna, man, I don't know. I guess so. I guess so. I guess it's enough. No. Man, I don't know. I'm struggling with that. Something's telling me Russell's going to win this because I don't know if Rayo's going to do back-to-back performances the way he did, and also, something happens to some fighters when they do have that career victory, that big win. Are they still as fired up that next time back out? I'm questioning if that happens. With Rayo here, and that's why I'm going with Russell. I guess I'll say decision. But I think he may hurt him, and that's may what slow Rayo down in order for him to put the rounds together. I'll say decision. Russell by decision. Irene put on this one the co-main feature. This is going to be the competitive fight, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go Russell. Just frankly, I don't know that much about Rayo. I've seen him once, but I've seen Russell more. I'm gonna go Russell. Stoppage. Late stoppage.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I'm gonna go Russell stoppage.
Well, listen, there's a lot for us to continue to discuss, but we're going to call it a show. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Fernando Hurricane Rivas, always a pleasure to have you on, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me as always. Big week coming up. Can't wait to talk about the Grand Prix next show because that's a lot to unpack right there.
That's a lot to talk about.
Huge announcement, by the way. Can't wait to talk about that. Big shout out to Ivory. Can't wait to chop it up with you again. Shout out to Blanca, our producer. Great, for the great work and helping us out like always. So shout out to Blanca as well, and shout out to the fans. Boxing fans, and man, let's keep doing this, man. Let's keep putting this content out, man. Let's talk boxing, man.
Yeah, that's it, man. Covering the sweet science, sport we know and love. I appreciate you as always, man. Always representing the Whatever You Say podcast, doing his thing over there as well too. We invite you to go check that out. Thanks for joining us today.
No doubt. Anytime, fellas. Let's keep this shit going, man. I'm a call away, man. We could talk about it.
Yes, sir. And our producer Blocker, right there as well too. Blocker, we appreciate you, baby.
Yeah, Bevo better needs to be at Straight Right Gym.
Jim Morris coming your way.
Shout out to
look,
them,
if y'all,
shout out to Straight Right.
Yeah,
always a pleasure to I get to sit here and learn, and I hope everybody else does the same, man. It's really cool to get to learn. I've always loved boxing, but to listen and to three guys with great knowledge is a blast, man. So a pleasure to get to do this for y'all.
Well, we appreciate it, fellas. Hey, man, listen, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on social media, and until next time, keep your hands up.